Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, Godzilla vs. Kong is done by Adam Wing, guys, a huge cast for loads of famous people. And just to say this before I get into my review today, before I get into my second review of this film, just to say this. I will be getting into some spoilers in this review today. So if you haven't watched Godzilla vs. Kong yet, and you're planning to, but you just haven't got around to it yet, and you don't know anything about the film, I am warning you now, I'm going to be getting some huge spoilers for the film in this review today. So if you haven't watched Godzilla vs. Kong yet, and you don't know anything about it, please do turn away now, because this is your last spoiler. So, spoiler alert! So basically, Godzilla vs. Kong tells the story of, actually, you know what? I'm not going to get into the plot of Godzilla vs. Kong, because in the end, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film. That's what you get in the film, nothing more, nothing less, and that's basically the gist of the film. It's Godzilla vs. Kong. The only part you really need to know about is this whole plot to this evil organization known as Apex, who create their own mechanical monster known as Mechagodzilla. Hey! One of my favourite parts of the film. Honestly, I absolutely love Mechagodzilla in this film. And that's basically the only plot you really need to know about in the film, but the rest of the film is essentially Godzilla vs. Kong, and they clash in various ways throughout the film. In the end, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film, and that's what you get from this film. And honestly, I went to go and watch this film a couple of days ago now for the second time. I've seen it twice now. And I just had such a better time watching the film the second time. I absolutely loved watching this film the second time. I mean, the first time I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was a brilliant film. I just kind of really enjoyed it. But the second time, even so I still don't think it's a brilliant film, I just absolutely loved watching it. Because the first time I watched it in this cinema screen, which was, it was good, it was alright. I didn't love the cinema I was in. But the second time I got to watch in IMAX, because the sound was loud and everything was just so much more immersive. And I just remember watching it the second time and thinking, yes, this is what I missed from the cinema. I mean, I enjoyed myself in the cinema the first time, but the second time I was really like, yes, this is what I've missed from the cinema. And honestly, the second time I watched this film, I just enjoyed it so much more than I did the first time. I really did. And even so, I still have my criticisms in place. Like, I do still think that most of the characters in the film are indispensable. The film does feel a bit overlong at some stages and a bit rushed at some other stages. Even so, I do still have those valid criticisms in place that I spoke about in my first review of this film. When I watched it the second time, I just kind of sat there and went along with everything and smiled and just sat there and enjoyed the hell out of this film. Honestly, I really did. It's the perfect movie to go back to the cinema to after not going to the cinema for such a long time. Honestly, it really is. And I just sat there with a huge grin on my face through most of the film. I mean, honestly, yes, all the characters are indispensable in the film, but with the exception of that one girl having a special connection with Kong in the film, she's quite important to the plot. Not to give too much away. This is a spoiler review, she's quite important to the plot, because in the end, Kong wouldn't have helped out Godzilla in the end without her. So she's still quite important to the plot, but also in the end, most of the characters in the film are quite indispensable. This whole story to be Millie Bobby Brown, Brian Tyree Henry, and Julie Dent in the film, which is quite pointless in the end. But honestly, I just enjoyed watching that storyline so much, because there's a certain energy of that story in the film, which I just found so enjoyable. One of my big issues with Godzilla King of the Monsters is that all the human characters in that film are all just annoyed and talking about how they're going to die and talking about how Godzilla is ruining the world and stuff like that. And in this film, you do still have those serious conversations between all the human characters in the film. But at the same time, though, you also have these really enjoyable storylines to watch. All the storylines, even so, some of them are quite serious in the film, they're all enjoyable to watch, which I really liked about it. And at the same time, though, I don't think the film, which I liked so much the second time, is the fact that it feels like a movie in this cool monsterverse, which includes characters like Godzilla, which came out in 2014, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Even so, it does feel like a movie in this cool monsterverse, which is still continuing. We're going to get a Son of Kong movie pretty soon, hopefully pretty soon. Anyway, I don't know when that movie's going to come out. It's only just been greenlit, but hopefully we're going to get a Son of Kong movie within the next 3 years or so. The thing is, though, this film, it feels like a film in this cool monsterverse, but at the same time, though, it feels like its own thing. That's something I absolutely love about this cool monsterverse, which includes 2014 Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, and Godzilla King of the Monsters. That's something I absolutely love about the cool monsterverse. In fact, that all these films feel connected in that own certain way, but they also feel like their own film. Godzilla vs. Godzilla, which came out in 2014, feels like a whole film with some stages. At the same time, though, really enjoyable to watch, and also like a family drama, and I really like that about that film. Kong Skull Island feels like a Vietnam War film. Something like that is literally like Apocalypse Now, but with King Kong. But actually, I love Kong Skull Island. I think that's the best film in this monsterverse. I don't think it's the best monster film in this monsterverse, because that's currently going on, but I do think it is the best film. At the same time, though, one thing I actually really like about Godzilla King of the Monsters is that it feels like its own film, but a continuation from the previous two films in the monsterverse that we've already seen. At the same time, not Godzilla King of the Monsters, it feels like its own film in the whole conspiracy aspect. Oh my god, what's going on with all these Godzilla-like monsters? But at the same time, though, it is just a big, cheesy monster film in the end, and it is a bit rubbish in some stages, and Godzilla King of the Monsters is a bit forgettable. But at the same time, though, I kind of enjoy watching the film when it's on, but it is a bit forgettable. But it does feel like a continuation of that cool monsterverse which is going on at the time. It feels like a continuation from Kong Skull Island and the 2014 Godzilla. And at the same time, though, Godzilla vs. Kong feels like a continuation from all those previous monster films, and then it feels like its own thing as well. Like, you don't have to watch any of the previous monster films to watch Godzilla vs. Kong. So that's what I love about this film. The fact that it feels like a accumulation of all these films which started in 2014 with Godzilla, and then continued on to Kong Skull Island, and then continued on to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it feels like a accumulation of all those films in the best way possible, but then it feels like its own thing. There's a certain energy with this film that I really enjoy watching. You know, whether it's with the characters, whether it's with the monsters of the film, or whether it's just the way it's structured, and the way it's crafted, and the way it's executed in the film. I find it so enjoyable. Like, you can clearly tell that Adam Wingard, the director of the film, has a clear eye for how to direct these monster sequences in the best way possible. Honestly, some of the monster sequences in the film, you just sit there and go, yes, now I feel like I'm watching a monster film in the best way possible. And at the same time, though, I also use a musical film that not only do you have this fantastical musical score by Tom Hulkenberg, aka Junkie XL, which just works so well in the film, but at the same time, though, you also have songs in the film which work really well, like The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies, and there's a song at the start of the film where you first see Kong, and at the same time, there's another song in the film. There's loads of songs in the film which all just work so well, and I just love that about that thing, the fact that it has its own feel to it, but at the same time, though, it feels like a continuation of this story, which started with Godzilla, continued on to Kong Skull Island, and then continued on to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then continued on to this film. And that's what I really like about it. I find that so fantastic about this film, that the fact that it feels like a continuation, but its own thing as well, and I really like it. At the same time, though, I love the introduction to the monsters film, like I love the introduction to Godzilla. It really makes me feel like the epicness of the film, and at the same time, though, I love the introduction to Kong, and I love the introduction to Mechagodzilla as well. The introduction to Mechagodzilla gave me goosebumps when I watched it the second time. Honestly, it really did. Like, the way the camera pans around him, and you see the spikes pricking up in his back and everything, I was like, ooh, now this is Mechagodzilla coming out so well. And also the fact that Mechagodzilla isn't really in the film that much. He's only in the third act, and then when he's in it, he's in some really awesome scenes, some really enjoyable scenes. I really like that about it. At the same time, though, I just think it's such an enjoyable film. And it's the film I wanted from Godzilla vs. Kong for so long. Because I talked about it already in my first review of Godzilla vs. Kong, that I'm someone who grew up watching, the original King Kong vs. Godzilla, which came out in 1963. And I just absolutely love that film. I watched it so many times as a child. And I just wanted to see a new modern take on the whole Godzilla vs. Kong story. And I was so excited to see this film. And then obviously the pandemic came around, it got pushed back and everything. And then I heard it was coming out, and they were coming out in America when cinemas weren't open in this country. And that was kind of annoying that America got to see this film before us. But then when cinemas finally did open, I went to go and see this the first day cinemas opened. Oh, well, that was the first time I saw this film. And I just remember thinking, oh my god, this is so enjoyable. Then the second time I literally just sat there thinking, yes, this is what I want from a Godzilla vs. Kong film. I love Godzilla vs. Kong for big, epic monster fights. And that's what you get from this film. And that's why I enjoy it so much. I love the introductions to all the monsters. I love using Mechagodzilla in the film. One thing I almost got to mention is the fact that skull calls in this film, like skull calls from Kong Skull Island to the villains in Kong Skull Island. You see Mechagodzilla face up on it, it works so well. I love the fact that skull calls in the film, again, creating that sense of continuity from Kong Skull Island, which I really like about this film. I also love the fact that it feels like its own film. I love the way the monster fights are shown in the film. And yes, even though it's all stupid, like the whole Hollow Earth stuff, where Kong travels to Hollow Earth, and then apparently his ancestors built like a palace for him where he gets his axe. Even so, that is all just completely and utterly stupid in the film. It just all works so well for me. And even so, I don't think it's the best film in the Kong Monsterverse. I still think Kong Skull Island is more consistent in its, tone and its characters and everything. Even so, it's not the best film in this Kong Monsterverse. I will say this. It's the best monster film in this Kong Monsterverse. It's so enjoyable to watch. It's so fun to watch. And honestly, it's what you want from a Godzilla vs. Kong film. It's no more and no less. But you know what? That's what I really like about this film. The fact that it delivers on the fact that it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film in the best way possible. And honestly, I absolutely love this film. I loved watching it a second time so much more than I did the first time. It's one of the best monster films I've seen in a long time. And in the end, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film, and that's what it delivers on. And so, all in all, I'm going to say the Godzilla vs. Kong on a second time. I'm going to say that's a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I was a bit harsh on my way the first time I played this film, because the first time I saw this film, I was focusing on the criticisms a bit more than I should have. Because in the end, it's a Godzilla vs. Kong film. You really don't want to think too much about the plot of the film, because in the end, it is quite stupid. Even so, there are some huge plot holes in the film. The second time, I just sat there and I went along with it all. And I think I was so harsh to this film the first time. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. And then the second time I just sat there thinking, okay, this is a Godzilla vs. Kong film, and it's ticking all the boxes for me. Honestly, it's so enjoyable to watch. The human character indispensable, yes, but in the end, you don't go to Godzilla vs. Kong to find really interesting human characters. You go to it to actually get some big, epic monster fights. You know what? That's what the film delivers on. It's really enjoyable to watch. It's got some big, epic monster fights which work so well. The music's great in the film. I think it's got some brilliant monster introductions. I love the way that Adam Wingard shoot these big epic monster fights, and I found it so enjoyable to watch both times. I enjoyed it so much more the second time, and I just absolutely love this film. It's what you want from a Godzilla vs. Kong film, and I think it's one of the best monster films I've seen in a long time. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Godzilla vs. Kong is a 9 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Godzilla vs. Kong? Please do comment down below and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TVs coming very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!